It's the Makin Moves podcast featuring Darren James and Tyler Alexander.
I love these guys.
Because they're funny, they're entertaining.
Talking everything about mindset, money, and motivation.
That's what I'm talking about.
Real facts, real truth, and real estate.
Come on, let's go.
All right, folks, and we're off. Oh, wow. What a great day it's been today. Today is our first episode. This Making Moves podcast with my good buddy and coworker, Tyler Alexander. Tyler, welcome to the show. Thank you so much and for being here and being a co-host with me on this. Great time, man. I'm very excited about it.
Absolutely. I'm stoked, man. I know this is, a year now in the making?
A year in the making.
We've been talking about it for a while and finally putting it in place and hopefully going to bring some wealth of knowledge to some people and hopefully help some clients out and maybe some agents outgrow their business.
That's the main thing, man, bringing value to as many people as we possibly can in this market and in the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, we just made this big move over to LPT Realty from our previous company, EXP Realty. So, before we get into that, let's talk about you. Tell the listeners and stuff. Some people may know you, some people may not know you. Tell them your story, man, about how you got started in this, how you and I met and so forth and so on. Just go raw with it.
Absolutely. So me and Darren met. So I was my wife and Darren's daughter, been friends. They grew up together. So I kind of knew of Darren, knew of him, knew he was a realtor, saw his stuff everywhere, but just never had any thoughts or anything about real estate. So I was in physical therapy school. I was in my 6th year, about to start my clinicals, and I got a job offer to go work for the clinic that I was a tech at. And the job offer was way less than what I was anticipating. I looked at the student loan side of it when my clinical started and how much I'd already paid. And I was just like, I don't think it's worth it. I love the field. I always wanted to be in some type of sports field. So I loved it. And I just had to look at realization and, the money just didn't add up. And so at that point, that was the spring of 2020. And I kind of went rogue. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have all I'd ever known was physical therapy. I mean, I was 6 years dedicated to it out of high school, and I didn't know what to do. So I contacted one of my buddies, and I was like, "Hey, man, are y'all hiring?" He worked in sales, doing equipment sales and stuff. And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I can get you an interview in." So I got an interview, and they told me in the interview that you needed a bachelor's degree to work for them. And so I said, "Okay." So I went at that time. Before I was in PT, I was at Southeastern, and then I transferred to Our Lady of the Lake. And so I called my advisor back at Southeastern. I said, "Hey, what degree can I get to make me graduate the fastest with a bachelor's degree?" And they're like, "Well, if you come back, you only need 2 semesters, you can graduate in business." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And so I transferred back, signed my contract with this company, and I was leaving January 1st of 2021, New Year's Day, to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, start working. Had my contract and everything signed. So I go, I take my spring class that semester, I took a summer class, and then I go to the fall. My fall semester was going to be my senior semester. I was done graduating. And I needed 21 credit hours. And for anyone out there listening, 21 credit hours in college is a ton. You're not supposed to take that many. So when he signed me up, that was also in the heart of COVID. And so everything was online. And so I was like, man, this is going to be tough doing 21 online hours. And so I signed up. Well, 2 days after I signed up for classes, my advisor calls me back. He said, "Hey, man," he said, "I got some terrible news." He said, "We're not offering electives anymore." He said, "And so you're 3 hours short to graduate. Because of COVID, we're not giving any electives." And I'm like, "Hey, man." I said, "That's not going to work." I said, and I told him my story then and there. And I said, "We got to figure something out." I said, "I have to graduate so I can leave in January and get going." And so he pretty much told me there was nothing really he could do. So I went up all the way up to the dean, got in touch with the dean. And he's like, "Man, look, we'll grant you an internship program." He's like, "We don't do it. We're not doing it because of COVID, but we'll let you do it. Just if you find someone that owns their own business, ride with them for 300 hours and get them to sign off, say you rode with them, and we'll let you go on with your 21 hours. And I said, "Okay, sweet." In my head, I knew nobody that owned their own business. So when I got home that night, I got to thinking, I'm like, okay, Darren's a realtor. He owns his own business. So I remember calling Darren up, and that's kind of a funny story. I called him up, and me and him were not close at this time. We probably met 2 or 3 times at a few of his Christmas parties. And I called him up and said, "Hey, man," I said, "I got a random question for you. I got this sheet that says I need to ride with somebody for 300 hours. I said, would you mind signing off on it and just saying I rode with you?" And he said, "Nope." He said, "I ain't going to do that." He said, "But you ride with me one day, it at least made me feel better." I'm like, "All right, dude, whatever."
Just to make the story straight. Let's get the story straight, right? I didn't give you 300 hours, right?
He didn't give me 300 hours. That is true. He did not give me 300 hours. So I said, "All right, dude, whatever." I said, "When are we going?" He said, "I'll pick you up tomorrow at 8 a.m. and I'll hop in Denham." I'm like, "Okay." So I get home and I'm telling Shelby, my wife, I'm like, this is going to be so stupid. Like, I don't want anything to do with real estate. I said, but I'm going to do it right along with him. Well, I'll never forget, we had 3 listing appointments and 2 closings that day. And I got in the car at 8 a.m. I got back at my house at 10 o'clock at night, and I fell in love. I'm like, man, this is awesome. And so I remember calling him that night and said, hey, can I come ride with you tomorrow? You got availability? You got a schedule? So he's like, yeah, absolutely. So I rode with him. We went on 3 weeks. And I remember it was October 7th of 2021. And I was it was eating at me that real estate was my calling. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I was always an entrepreneur. I owned my own lawn business through college. And like, I just kept thinking about it. I'm like, that's what I need to do. But I had no money. And everybody I talked to, family-wise, friends, everyone's like, go to this company, take the guaranteed money, don't take a risk on real estate. But it was just something about it. And I remember making a prayer that night, and I said, God, just tell me what my path is. Like, just tell me which route I need to go, and let me know and make it clear. And I'm crazy. Next morning I woke up, and I just knew. Like, and it's weird, like, telling this because it sounds so cliche. Like, people say that all the time. But, like, it literally was like that. I woke up that morning, I had to ride along with him. And I got in the car, and I was like, hey, man, I was thinking about this last night. I said, I think I'm going into real estate. I was like, would you hire me on the team? And he's like, dude, I've been waiting 4 weeks for you to ask me this. And he said, absolutely. So I ended up finishing my degree, started real estate school the day I graduated college in December, finished it for Christmas, and then got licensed March 1st of 2021. Yeah, March 1st of 2021 is when I got licensed. And I had $70 in my bank account the day I got licensed. And it was a fight or flight mentality. A lot of people say, going into real estate, put up money aside. And it's very, very true because I did not do that. But I didn't have an option at that time, But when you do that and you go in and you dedicate 100% to something like I did with real estate, like, not having any money and knowing where I came from and knowing where I could go, that's what really drove me into real estate. And, March 1st I started. March 4th, I got my first deal under contract, a cash sale, and I closed it in 3 weeks. And I remember that was my first ever check that I got in real estate. This is kind of another funny story. And so it was like $130,000 cash deal. And so you agents that listen to this, you're going to laugh at this. Other people probably won't understand, but this is my first closing. So I'm like, all right, I'm a realtor. I got to go get a suit. And so I'm like, I don't know where to suit. So I texted my dad, and he sent me money to go get a suit. And so I go to K&G Fashion to go get my suit because that was the cheapest places that I knew. So I went and I got like a $90 suit, and it was skin tight and 3-piece. I'm talking vest, everything, got the shoes. So I show up to that closing, $130,000 cash sale, and I walk in and everybody's in t-shirts and shorts. And even Dylan at my title company, like my attorney is in shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is bad. And so I kind of just didn't sit. I wanted to go sit down. My pants ripped. Completely ripped. And so it wasn't a good first experience, but kind of fast forwarding, when I got paid, I remember that check, it was $1,300. And I'm like, I remember telling myself, man, I'm rich. This is the first time I've ever had a comma in my bank account. And that just lit a fire in me in real estate. And kind of been going ever since. And it's been amazing. It's blessed me and definitely changed my life.
When I think back on this, it basically comes down to, tell me more about the hope that you had when you got into it, right? So hope in my world stands for have only positive expectations. And this podcast is about mindset, money, and motivation. So this goes back to the mindset part of it. Tell me more about your mindset when you first got in. What was that like being a new agent, not really knowing which way to go, the path to take, and so forth? And how did the mentorship play into your success so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, being a first-time realtor, it's really, if you've never done it before and never been self-employed, it's terrifying because you have no accountability. There's nobody that's going to hold you accountable. There's nobody that's going to tell you to show up to work. There's no one going to tell you to call these leads. There's no one going to tell you to do anything. You're on your own. You own your own business. You're me incorporated. And so when it comes into that, the hope that you have and the mindset that you have is all just self-accountability. It's, I'm going to do this. It's not like, man, I see this realtor over there. He's selling $12 million. I wish I could sell $12 million. I wish I could do that. And it's not a wish. It's I will. I will sell that $12 million. I remember my first year, I was trying to compete with, the top producer on your team. I'm like, man, like I was beating myself up because I couldn't catch up to him. But like, that's what I've always been, And so as a new agent out there, speaking to y'all, it is self-accountability and holding yourself accountable. Stay into a dedicated schedule. My schedule every single day, what I do, and it's consistent. Consistency is huge, whether you're a brand new realtor or a 20-year realtor. Staying consistent. But, real estate school does not teach you anything about real estate. They teach you how to stay out of trouble. They teach you the laws. They don't teach you how to sell houses. They don't teach you how to talk to clients. They don't teach you how to provide a customer experience. They don't teach you how to write contracts. They don't teach you anything. So it's all self-taught, and a lot of brokerages train agents, but just like I talk to a lot of agents that come on under me, and same thing I tell them, like, man, look, I can sit in here with you for 6 weeks, and you can listen to every phone call I make. I can teach you how to do everything. I said, but at the end of the day, you're still not going to know how to do it till you go out there and do it yourself. And a lot of people in this world, nowadays, realtors or even anybody self-employed, they, a lot of people want handouts. They want stuff given to them, and they don't want to work for anything. And people think real estate's an easy career, and I can tell you, I thought all I had to do was put a sign in the yard and I get 6%. Really, that's how I thought going into it. But doing it and seeing just how much work puts in, and it's so funny. I laugh because I hear a lot of people talking about, like, I want to get in real estate so I can have more free time. I'm like, you're going to go from 40 hours a week to 80 hours a week.
Exactly.
That's what changes.
Exactly, yeah.
But there's few realtors that do that, and that's what separates a lot of people. Yeah. So, but being under the right mentor is probably the most important thing you could ever do as a brand new agent.
Yeah. So tell me more about that end of it. Why is that so pivotal for you to have the right coach in your career as far as that goes?
So, as I was saying, you're going into this knowing nothing. It's not like, you're going in the medical field, you're going to learn for 4 years in college and know how to do that. You go work in the plant, you're going to start at the bottom and learn how to do everything. In real estate, you're not. And so being under the right mentor that's proven, and I say under the right mentor for multiple things. One that you can vibe with and you have a relationship with, and one that kind of sees the same vision that you see for yourself. And with that, there's so many great mentors out there in realtors. We have some phenomenal realtors in our area, and so getting under one of those and just seeing how their systems can translate to you. I use, how many apps I have on my phone from you. So, seeing your systems and trying to just implement, exactly what you do in your business to mine is how I became the way I have. And there's a lot of realtors out there that are phenomenal that do the same thing. And so I think that is just finding the one, don't go, in my opinion, don't sell yourself on a brokerage, sell yourself on an individual, an individual agent that is proven and shown that they can do it, and mentor into them, shadow them like I did with you, just call. I mean, even with me or you, like if anyone out there is listening that's interested in real estate, like call, come ride with me, see if you like it. That's the only way I knew that I wanted to do it. And so being under that mentor that kind of shares the same vision that you do is the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. We talk about in our office meetings and in our mantra of the company itself, right? The team, it takes 3 things in any industry. It doesn't matter what industry you're in to be very successful. It's mindset, skill set, and what's the last one?
Daily habits.
Daily habits, that's right. And that's where most people fail, is in the daily habits portion of it. Because, anybody can, your mindset has to be right. If you believe it, you can achieve it. If you think you can do it, you can. So your mindset has to be right. Anybody can really learn the skill set. We all have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to implement that. But the daily habits is where most people in any industry lack. And it comes down to one word, right? It's discipline. That's what it comes down to. And that's like you were mentioning earlier. If someone had to look at your perfect daily schedule, what we call the PDS, perfect daily schedule, you would see that you're in the office at what time every morning?
7:30.
Every morning, like clockwork. I'll put my next commission on that, right?
You'll get it back.
I know I will. That's a guarantee. That's right. But that's a true statement, though, right? Because you those daily habits that you, Justin, and several other team members have implemented is that you're in the office every single day. And that is what makes you different than a lot of other people, because you treat it like a career, not just necessarily a job, right? And that's huge. So what about the brokerage? Let's talk about that a little bit. The brokerage, I was with a company for 8 years for that, previously independent, did very well there, moved to EXP Realty, which was fantastic for me as well. You were there as well. What's the difference? We just recently, December the 9th, moved over to LPTU, that stands for Listing Power Tools. And for those of you who are listening, basically the company originated out of Tampa, Florida. The guy owned, Robert Palmer, is the CEO of the company. He owned a print company beforehand that gives us proprietary marketing tools directly for our listings and so forth, to get unbelievable exposure, maximum exposure for our sellers, and just be able to help us sell homes faster and maximize the seller's return on their investment. So what has that done for you? Now, you saw the deal coming in from EXP going to LPT. What do you think? So I made that move. People ask me all the time, Darren, why in the world did I leave there after being there for 8 years? And quite honestly, I was perfectly happy there. I really was. And I looked at it for a while. You and I talked about it on a trip in Houston, in Texas, and we ended up making the move. I made the move directly for my team members, because it gives y'all, opportunity that you wouldn't have had at the previous company. So tell us how that's been pivotal in your experience of moving December 9th to where you're at right now, as far as the overall growth as an agent and overall growth as a career.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, we looked at this for a year and watched them grow. I know when we first got contacted about this, they were at like 900 agents, and when we joined, they were at 5,000. So we saw the growth there. For me, what I looked at, I, as 27-year-old, I want passive income, and I feel like everyone out there should strive that, no matter what your age is. And that's kind of what this podcast is going to be about a lot, is how to generate passive income and stuff like that, and how to have the mindset. But passive income was a big thing for me, especially when I got into real estate, try to generate that. And so with EXP, they have passive income opportunities, but the way I looked at it is, the opportunities were much greater 5 years ago when you got in, before it grew massively, the stock price shot up. I couldn't accumulate a lot of shares of stock. I was, when I got in, for me to attract agents there, there was already 85,000 agents. The bag was out. Everyone knew about it. And also at that time, there was multiple other companies that had a very similar model that came out after EXP that may or may not have been better than theirs. And so like that hurt when you tried to get agent attraction and try to get agents under you for revenue share and for passive income. That hurt me. And so I looked at it like, it took me in 3 years with EXP, or 2.5 years, I attracted 8 agents, and out of those 8, 5 of them are my friends. So really I got 3 agents in 2.5 years. And so fast forward in the LPT, when I look at it and look at the first ever hybrid model, and it's genius, then somehow nobody has thought of it, because a lot of times I get, talking to agents when I was with EXP was, well, I don't want to generate rev share. I don't want to recruit. Well, if that's the case, then it really doesn't make sense, for you. If you just want to sell houses, go join a flat fee brokerage and do that. And I got that a lot. I got a lot of agents that did not join into me and went and joined a flat fee. And so fast forward in the LPT and seeing that you can either generate passive income or you can do a flat fee, whatever you want. They give the agents choice to choose, because I've always said, there's 3 different agents out there. There's ones that just want to sell houses. There's ones that just want to recruit. And there's ones that want to do both. And we're the first ever brokerage that has all of that all in one. And so it gives the agents the choice. And so when I see that, and also the stock opportunity, how many shares, I generated and I capped every year with EXP, I got all the granted shares. I got the recruitment shares. I got all that. And I generated, 700 and something shares in 2.5 years. With LPT, I'll get almost 5,000 shares in 1 year, so that is the massive difference. And, when I look at that, I really look at numbers. I haven't really called and tried to attract people, but just talking and putting stuff on Facebook, I know it said 2.5 years at EXP, I got 8 agents. In 30 days at LPT, I got 30. So that is the massive, because I don't have to sell the brokerage, because I had to sell EXP, With LPT, I don't have to sell anything. I just tell them what it is. Like, here, like, what is the con? What is the downside to this company? What is the downside to you joining, getting in early on a company to reap the benefits of the stock and the revenue share and the growth, getting in early now? If you wait 2 or 3 years and the ship has sailed, you can still get in, but you're not going to reap the benefits now. If you get in now, if you hate it, you can still go somewhere else. Everybody hires. There's no job applications for realtors.
That's right.
Every brokerage hires. So, that's what really sold me on LPT, was just seeing the opportunity to generate that passive income, in the stock side of it and also on the revenue share side of it. And just, like I said, talking to agents and showing them the model and how it breaks down with no monthly fees and all the marketing that you get, the listing power tools box, because it was a marketing company. They were a print company before they were, a real estate brokerage. And so that is the biggest thing as realtors, is marketing. And so having that all in one in your brokerage is phenomenal. With the other opportunities, it's game changing compared to anything else.
Yeah, I mean, in anything, like in real estate especially, you don't have to be the best realtor. You have to be the best marketer. Yep. And that's the key in the process. And we've always heard that, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So they're doing business with you, Tyler. They're doing business with Justin. They're doing business with Tanya, whoever, right? And that's who they do business with. They don't necessarily do business with the brokerage, but I've always heard that the brokerage really didn't matter what brokerage you were with, because they're doing business with you. But with LP2, it's a little bit different than that, because they offer these tools that are unparalleled and basically proprietary to our company. And that's really instrumental when it comes to an agent branding themselves. I mean, the 7 common critical questions that you can ask a seller when they're interviewing their listing agent, right? That's very important, right? A seller needs to know what to ask, right? Because they don't know what they don't know, really. And then we got the home buyer guide. We have all these other different tools that we can use to really get maximum exposure for our sellers. It's just a game changer.
Absolutely. It really is. And I don't know whether, and I've gotten this question before, I had an agent break up to me, like, when I was talking to her, she said that, back when EXP was new, they were the biggest and best thing. So now LPT is the biggest and best thing. So when there's going to be another biggest and best thing, and I don't know, will there? Yes. Like, I'm sure there will. Somebody will take this model and find a way to tweak it and make it better. But at the end of the day, why does it matter? Because you're getting in early. So whether you're getting in early now at this company or the next company, either way, you're going to reap the benefits of it. Because even if they do make another company out there, like, you're still going to be early on this one, and this company is going to blow up. I mean, we're the fastest growing brokerage in the world. You know, no growth has ever happened like it's happening right now, and we're not even open in every state.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy seeing that, and so excited for the growth of it, and to be able to get in on the ground floor. You know, especially I look at it. I mean, I know you look at it in a way, and I look at it. You know, at 27 years old, getting in on a company this early is hopefully going to be groundbreaking. You know, for my future. So I'm excited, and I'm really, really stoked about the growth that we're going to go with this.
Yeah, well, that's like the CEO, right? You mentioned before that it's the first time in that you've ever seen. Most real estate companies are run by previous realtors, right? So you become a realtor, then you get your broker's license, open up your company, and it's done that way. This real estate company is done a little bit different. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really started looking at that when I joined LPT. I didn't know much about Robert Palmer. You know, I knew of him just by watching videos and stuff, but when I really got in, I started watching a lot of the videos that they have inside of our portal, and him talking about the listing power tools box, and then he started talking about his story. And so I started researching him, all the business he's owned and everything, and he's a businessman. And when I saw that, I started thinking, I'm like, man, like, this company's being ran like a business. Like, this is the first real estate company that, in my opinion, is being ran like a business. You know, if you look at Keller Williams, you know, and Gary Keller was a realtor. You know, if you look at EXP, Glenn Sanford was a realtor. Like, and Robert Palmer's not. You know, he's a businessman. He owns multiple businesses. And I feel like being the first real estate brokerage to be run like a business like that is game-changing for agents, and he's doing it for the agents. You know, he's not running it on a real estate side of it. He's not about that. You know, he's more looking into the future, how he can turn this into a multi-billion-dollar business. And I think he will. He's done it with multiple, I say multi-billion, but, you know, he has multi-million-dollar businesses that he's turned into. And, I mean, Listing Power Tools was a multi-million-dollar business before it was a brokerage. So I see him running this like a business, and we're already seeing it at the ground level, the things that he's doing and stuff like that, and the way he's giving back to agents that you can tell he cares about us and wanting to grow us. And so I think it's just so different than what I've seen with other real estate brokerages, and I think it's ran totally different.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that 100%, especially coming over from us, you know, being the team leader. We had a lot of transition that we had to make whenever we left EXP to go to LPT. And, you know, we did that previously coming from an independent when we had our own deal to go into EXP. And the transition that we made from EXP to LPT was amazing. I mean, it was very simple, streamlined. We got all our questions answered. I mean, it was just a really, at first it was a daunting task. And we were like, oh my God, I got to do all this stuff and all these people, and we don't know who to contact. It's basically a cloud-based brokerage model, quote unquote, because everything is managed directly from your cell phone or from your desktop computer through what's called LPT Connect. And it's been a phenomenal experience. I mean, on your end, it was great on yours as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely, it was. It was. I mean, it was my first time. I know you've changed brokerages before, but it was my first time doing it, and it was as seamless, you know, as you could want it.
Yep. So let's talk about a little bit of challenges in the industry, right? So we had a crazy year for 2023.
Yeah.
It was insane. We still did very, very well as far as our numbers go nationally, ranked on the Wall Street Journal list of the top 1,000 realtors in America. Have done that since 2011, and so just very, 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 very blessed to be able to do that. But 2023 was a challenging year. What's some of the struggles that you faced, and how did you overcome those struggles?
So for me, getting licensed, the day I got licensed, interest rates were 2.5%. So seeing that, and I was never aware of a normal market. You know, I got in a hot market, and at that point, you know, all you had to do was have a real estate license, sell a house then, you know, and generate business. And so going from that to last year, you know, last year really showed the realtors that don't market, you know, and you actually had to put in work to sell houses, and you had to put in work to generate clients. They weren't just going to come like they were in 2021. And so it was really about last year, the entire year, how can you provide value, you know, to people and not look at it in a bad way, you know. And a lot of people talk down on the market, like, my God, this market's terrible, you know, it's horrible, it sucks. Like, and yeah, it does if you look at it that way, you know, but if you look at it on the flip side of it, you know, like, at the end of the day, it can always get worse. You know, look at rates. Look at how they've been in the past. You know, they've been higher than what they were. And at the end of the day, people still got to buy and they still got to sell. They got to have somewhere to live, you know. And so that struggle last year was really, you know, how can I pivot myself? Because I've never, like I said, I've never been in a 5, 6, 7 interest rate market ever. Yeah. And so I had to pivot my business and pour more into my marketing, more into my social media, more into my SOI, contacting them daily, working my leads, working my CRM, way more than I had to do in 2021 and 2022. And doing that, last year I still sold right around the same number I sold the year before that, and just as good of a market, in a worse market.
You had a very, very close year as far as quote unquote being a down market with limited inventory, interest rates very, very high during that time period. So you freaking crushed last year.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I think that's phenomenal. So you need to go ahead and give your hand a pat on the back. Can I hit the applause button? Yeah, there we go, right there. Huh? How about that?
We're figuring out that board.
Yeah, so that's cool stuff, man. But yeah, it's been kind of interesting. What you just said was, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So that all comes back to, again, mindset, skill set, and daily habits. Is mindset, right? Because it's very easy to quit. Most people, what I've noticed is that most people quit before they really ever get started. And that's what happens in most industries, is that they're at a point where they're growing and they get to a breakthrough point where they're about to, they plateau, and then they can't hit that breakthrough, and then they quit. And so you're 1%. If you just improve yourself every day, if you wake up every single day, late to bed, early to rise, work like no other, and advertise, that's the key, right? But you improve yourself 1% every day, it's instrumental of what it'll do over a year's time period.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think it's, it all boils down to kind of what I said earlier about being disciplined. I know you just brought it up about discipline. But that's the whole thing is staying disciplined, staying to what you do best, finding your niche in this business, and dedicating yourself to it, knowing what you're talking about, staying in a consistent schedule and a consistent habit and rolling with that. And no matter what market, is thrown at you, if you're staying consistent, you're still doing the things you're supposed to do instead of, looking at it like, oh my God, this market sucks. I'm going to sleep in today because I know no one's going to answer the phone or no one's going to come see my house. So I'm not going to post anything on Facebook today. That's not the route to look at it. And I know a lot of people did. A lot of realtors got out the business last year. A lot of loan officers got out the business, a lot of home inspectors, title companies. So you saw a lot of people pour out of it. And those are people that weren't, in my opinion, as dedicated as they should have and should have pivoted their business to change from a 2021 to a 2023 market.
Yeah, it takes consistency and persistency in your business, right? And so what you just said is what one of my coaches, Bob Corcoran, years ago in 2011, we hired him to coach our real estate team. And so we went from $20 million in production one year to over 62 in 1 year, just crazy growth, right? And so that helped us end up on the Inc. 5000 list of the fastest growing companies in America. Well, during that time period, one of the things that he said was, there's time vampires in our business. So if we want to go take a 10-hour lunch break, let's just say 5-hour lunch break, whatever it is, there's nobody there to hold us accountable except for who? For you. And that's where most people fail, is they fail on that discipline end of it to, hey, what are you going to do? What are your dollar productive activities that you are doing today that are going to affect your income 90 days down the road? And that's where most people get complacent and get sideways as far as the real estate industry goes. So you've been in it for how long now? For 3 years?
Like 3 years, March 1st.
Yeah, 3 years, man. It's been it flew by.
It did fly by.
It's still it's crazy, man.
I know.
It's unbelievable how fast and what you've learned in that time period. That's what's really cool, is that I love to see people evolve, and that's where I'm at in my stage in my life right now, is that I could care less about the production and all that type of stuff. I like to see people live their best life. And I think that's where I'm at right now in my world, is seeing other people. How can I help? And that's one of my biggest fears. So I'm scared that I'm going to leave this world one day and not be able to affect and change the lives of as many people as I want to before I go. And that's the hardest part, is that I don't know how many lives I'm affecting. I don't know who's going to hear this podcast and hear that, and I give them hope or whatever the case may be. But that's one of my biggest fears. And so I'm at that point where it's great to see, your growth and all the team members' growth over that short time, because what you've done in 3 years, and most people, it takes 10, 15 years to get to those numbers. Right. And it's been unbelievable. It's just been a grind, but it comes back to one word again: discipline in your daily habits. You do what it takes every single day. And then, you and Justin are just alike, and Tanya, the ones that are freaking killing it out there, y'all freaking crushing it. And that's a good thing. So, what is some of the crazy stuff you've seen over the 3 years you've been in it? Like what is your tell me about your most craziest thing you've ever seen, or the craziest situation you've ever dealt with?
God, my craziest situation. Let me think. I have so I have had one. Had a closing. This was probably about 6 or 7 months ago. It's a girl and a guy. They were buying and selling. We had their house under contract. We had them on a new build under contract, a D.R. Horton home under contract. And we'd sold their house, and then they were going to go stay with the in-laws for a week. So we sold their house. Well, within that week that they went to go stay with their in-laws, we were closing on the D.R. Horton one at the end. She went and bought an $80,000 car.
Lovely.
Yeah. After I like when I go under contract, like there's a checklist I send out, like, hey, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this.
That's
don't do all
that's
that.
called the 10 Commandments of real estate.
No doubt.
That's what it is, right?
We're not lying. And so I sent that out, and so she calls me, and the only way I found out is because she posted it on Facebook, and I saw it, and I'm looking at my phone, I'm like,
your heart's
surely, literally my heart's like in my stomach, and I'm looking at this like, no way, this ain't real. And so I call her, I'm like, please don't tell me you just went and bought that car. She's like, yeah. She's like, we were clear to close. It's like, yeah, that's not what that means. That don't mean you're clear to spend. There's a big difference.
Right?
There's a big difference. And so I started panicking. I'm like, oh my God. And so the boyfriend didn't know any better. He didn't know what to do. And thank God it was D.R. Horton. And it wasn't just a regular, house on the market. I mean, you talk about, ruining it. That's another family that's got to move out somewhere. Right. You're messing up a whole deal off that. And so, we had to cancel the transaction because she wasn't approved anymore. I mean, wasn't even close to approved. And it was disastrous. And it fell apart literally in the last minute. She went and bought that car, and then 3 weeks later, she traded the car back in. They split up, never talked to each other again. So,
oh my gosh,
never got the sale out of it either. So, but yeah, that's my craziest. What's yours? I know you got 20 years of craziness.
Oh my gosh, yeah, really, really crazy. So, I had a house one time. Guy and his wife had divorced, and he was living in Jacksonville, Florida. And so he had 3 homes, 2 in Ascension Parish, and 1 in Livingston Parish. So he comes in town one day, he says, Darren, I want you to sell these houses for me. So I went and looked at the one in Livingston. He said, come on, we're going to go to the one in Ascension. We walk into the house in Ascension Parish, and there's 23 cats upstairs.
That was a catastrophe.
Oh my gosh. Look, so it's a 2-story house. You walk in the front door, and there's a loft. Picture this, right? There's a loft up top with this. It's all glassed in, and these cats are up there, meow, 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 going crazy, right? Going crazy.
It's catastrophic.
It is catastrophic. Look, we walk up the steps, and the guy, he says, come on. He opens the door, and the urine smell hits me, and I couldn't hardly breathe. I had to put my head in my shirt because I could not breathe. It was that bad. So what was happening was the wife was walking in there, and she had a big garbage can. She'd walk upstairs, throw the food in there, and the cats were coming in and out of the house. She left the window open upstairs. They were coming in and out of the house directly from that.
Oh,
it was
my God.
Insane. So
did you sell it?
I sold the house. 5 days on the market. And so the guy actually, let me tell you something. The guy actually lived in Live Oak Trace Apartments when there were Live Oak Trace Apartments down in Denham Springs. But long and the story short, he was from the Ukraine. And so it took him 2.5 years to redo that entire home. He gutted the whole entire thing, every bit of it. The whole upstairs, gutted the whole house. And, he had a toddler. And he brought the toddler to look at the house and said, man, don't bring that child upstairs, because of that reason. I mean, all the urine and everything else. I said, don't bring that kid anywhere near. And so he ended up gutting the whole house and finally moved in 2.5 years later. It was crazy.
Jeez,
I went on one time. I went to a house and they had 2 dead Rottweilers underneath the carport. So I've been there and did that. Yeah, that was crazy.
You ever had one with like couples? Something happened with a couple? You ever had that?
I had some couples doing some deeds in the bedroom.
No, not like that. But have you ever had like couples follow, like something happened with them during a transaction or before a transaction where like the deal just didn't happen?
Yeah. So I had a husband and wife one time. I'll tell you this story. So husband and wife one time, the guy actually was buying the house. He was a Livingston Parish deputy. And so he was buying the home. Well, I was representing the seller, so I had both husband and wife. Well, the husband and wife were divorcing. So they were getting everything out the day before the closing, right? So they're going through the house. They get in an argument at the house, and we're closing the next day. So this must have been this was a Thursday night. They get in an argument. We're closing the Friday. And so the husband gets mad at the wife in the midst of all that, and she's backing out the driveway. He takes a paint can and throws it through her windshield. Wow. Shatters the windshield, right? And so she leaves the house, and so we're thinking she's going to show up the next day and show up to closing. Well, she has to be there to sign, and she's in Florida. She rolled out, went to Pensacola. And I'm like, okay, here we are closing. I'm selling the guy buying the house, the Livingston Parish deputy. I'm got representing both buyer and seller, and the lady doesn't show up to the closing. So we had to hunt her down. Finally, we got to get the documents, overnight it to the title company in Florida. She wasn't coming back because she was scared, rightfully so, because of the husband. And long end of the story short, that was a crazy one. Definitely a crazy one. We ended up closing. It was a week delay, but we got it closed. Had another one. Talk about the importance of people talking with one another, right? The importance of realtors knowing everything and buyers or sellers not communicating with each other throughout the transaction. I had another one that I closed, and both people, the seller was a police officer, the buyer was a police officer. They were friends. They knew each other, all right? Well, my seller was getting married in the midst of this transaction, okay? And so he goes to Mexico, 3 weeks in the midst of this escrow period, goes to Mexico. Well, in the midst of all that, we negotiated, they had some bricks in the back of the house and some debris in the back of the house that needed to be moved. We negotiated that in the contract that my seller would remove it before closing. He gets back in town, gets delayed in Mexico, gets back in town, closing a week later. He's like, him and the buyer start talking in the midst of all that, leaving both of the realtors, myself and the other realtor, out of the communications. They agreed to leave a boat in lieu of him removing the trash. Well, long end of the story short, we show up to the closing, and the buyer says, "Hey man, do you have the title to the boat?" And me and the other realtor look at each other like, "What are you talking about? Title to a boat? What do you mean?" So they negotiated to give the boat. Well, the seller didn't bring the title to the boat, so that delayed. The guy wasn't going to close until he got title to that boat, and so that delayed the whole closing. They had to write to get title. It was a nightmare. So,
Oh my God.
yeah, he didn't want to close as a result of that because those bricks were left there, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, it's always something that happens in a transaction.
It always is. That's what I was telling you earlier, man. It's rare that I'll have a normal transaction. Like they happen. They happen frequently. Don't get me wrong. But it just seems like every
it's just
month
word blocks,
it's
man.
something.
We are in our profession, we're problem solvers, right? That's what we have to do very well. We have to solve problems, and that's why people pay us great money, because we solve problems really well. And that's the way I've always ran my business. Anytime I come across a problem, I let them people know immediately when that problem is. I'm not going to hold on to that problem or any of that type of stuff. I'm going to let them know, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to decide we're going to overcome it. But I'm going to come with a solution. I'm going to find a solution for it if I can.
Absolutely. That's our job.
That's what we do. That's right. That's what we do great. Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, this is the first episode. We're almost 45 minutes in, so it's been a good one. It's been fun, one. Man. I really enjoy it. I hope we provide some value, and looking forward to the next one for sure. So how do people get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you?
So if you want to get in touch with me, so my number is 225-955-0008. I'll sing you my jingle too while you're at it if you want to listen to it. And you can go to our website, tyler.agent225.com. And that's really my two ways of contact. For anything, realtors, clients, anything. If you're interested in real estate, talking about real estate, just want to know. I know, this podcast, we're going to talk about real estate, but it's not just going to be real estate. We want to talk about, streams of income, multiple streams of income, how to generate that to where it's not just realtors that listen, for anybody out there, to figure out how to generate streams of income. You have somebody, in their 20s and somebody in their 40s that can tell you in kind of two different ways.
Appreciate that, bro.
Well, at least I didn't say 50s.
I know. I am in my 50s.
Oh, are you?
I'm 50.
Oh. All right. Somebody in their 50s and somebody in their 20s.
I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. I got you. Also, I was going to say 30, but
I'd
be lying at that point. But, different. Both of us kind of have our different takes on, streams of income, how to generate streams of income and stuff. So, throughout this podcast and going forward, we're going to be talking about that and just how to have the discipline and the mindset and all that and what it takes to be successful. So that's me. But what about you? How do they contact you?
It's not how much money you make in life. It's how much you keep, right?
That's it.
That's the whole key in the process. So, so if you want to reach me, I'm Darren James. You can reach me at Darren@agent225.com or DarrenJamesRealtor@gmail.com. My cell phone number is 225-335-7666, 225-335-7666, or online, agent225.com. That's agent225.com.